Welcome to the PM Quick Tips channel, your go-to resource for practical project management tips and information that you can use every day in your role as a project manager. Today, I'm going to be talking about 5 essential project management documents that you will encounter. So these 5, whether they are formal deliverables or they are part of the work products that you produce in your project, these are 5 important ones that you need to be familiar with and that you also want to feel very comfortable developing. Number 1 is the status report. So a status report tells your customer what's going on with the project. Very simply put, what's going on, what's going well, what needs to be addressed or what may need some improvement, and where are we going next. Now, this might sound a little bit like a stand-up that you might have, but a status report is definitely more detailed than a stand-up. The status report needs to have the important information that your customer is looking to see. So you can start off with a template, which is usually the best thing to do, is you have a template for your status report, but you also want to start to incorporate things that you learn about your customer. In particular, how do they like to receive information? Do they like things at a high level? Do they like it in narrative form? Do they like to read a status report that has bullet points and just gets to the key information? Do they like lengthy status reports? All of these things you will learn over time as you get more familiar with your customer. But starting off, make sure that you are starting with a template and then you adjust until you get to the right level of detail and the right tone in that status report that you share with your customer. Now, I did mention that this might be a formal deliverable, so that can also have some impact on how you develop a status report. But if it is not a formal deliverable and there are not specific topics that the customer is looking for in this formal deliverable, you have a little bit more wiggle room to decide what you want that status report to look like. And even if you don't submit it formally to the customer, it will inform your project status meetings where you are interacting with your customer to let them know how things are going. So that's number 1, status report. And a key element to that to get you started is going to be a template. And actually we'll do without that because I think you can't really read that. So number 2, a risks and issues list. Now you might have heard this referred to as a risk register. Same thing, risks and issues list, risk register. The name you call it is, pick one, but the contents, those are the most important things. You want to document risks and you want to document issues. Risks might turn into issues at some point, but you want to acknowledge and identify those risks for your project and monitor the status of those. At the outset of a project, you likely may have some risks. So even before you have started the project execution phase, you may have already identified risks. There may be time constraints. The timeline may be too aggressive. That is a risk. There may be minimal resources and you need to staff up the project, and the potential risk there might be the longer it takes to staff up that project introduces a risk. It doesn't matter. Identify all of the risks, monitor those, identify mitigation strategies, solutions for those risks, and do your best to avoid those risks turning into actual issues. But this is a critical document that you will want to maintain throughout the life cycle of a project. Number 3, lessons learned. Now, this is likely not going to be a document that you share with your customer because lessons learned may include your own internal lessons learned for the project. This may be how you manage the project how you manage the team. There may be lessons learned from the project team. So the lessons learned document is one that you also will want to maintain throughout the life of the project, but it may not need to be updated as frequently or maintained as frequently as, say, your risks and issues log or your risk register. The lessons learned, you may want to check in on that and update it quarterly. Maybe you do that biannually. It really depends on your preference. You definitely don't want to wait until the end of a project. Many projects are multi-year projects, because then you're relying on your memory and the memory of your team to identify all of those opportunities that you have to improve for the next project moving forward, and to really know, well, what was the best solution, or can we improve that on a future project if something like this comes up. So very critical document, the lessons learned. Number 4, meeting notes or meeting minutes. Document everything. Now, you may be using an AI tool to capture meeting notes, which would be great, but on some projects, that's not going to be feasible due to security concerns. So whether you are using an AI tool to initially capture notes, or you're doing them the old-fashioned way and documenting those and typing them up, maintain meeting notes for all of your meetings. You will thank me for this later. You may think, oh, this is just a quick chat. This is a quick debrief. No, document it, document it. You need to be able to go back and refer to what was discussed, what decisions were made, and if there are any action items. And you need that to be in a structured way that everyone can review and can understand what the outcomes of that meeting, that quick chat, whatever it is. Document everything, and meeting notes are critical. This is another one. All of these documents would serve you well to have templates for them, because then it's easier to start. And then you also start to develop some consistency across projects with how you communicate on the progress of a project, and also how you're able to turn those around more quickly if you have templates to start with. So critical to have meeting minutes, document everything. Number 5, now the final project summary report. This might also be a formal deliverable, but even if it is not, you want to summarize the project. You want to be able to, again, keyword, document how the project went. Where were the successes? Where were the areas of improvement? Where did you run into roadblocks that caused some delays on the project? Are there opportunities, or did you implement any process improvement steps to get things back on track? That summary report should highlight the successes, but also identify the challenges that were encountered for that project. And most importantly, what were the outcomes? What was the value of the project? It may not always be that everything went well on the project, so don't be hesitant to document those things. That is just par for the course, as they say, in a project. Everything does not go exactly the way you want it, and that's okay, because that's where you learn, and that's how you improve on the way that you manage a future project, and how you might address a roadblock or a challenge when it comes up later on. So, final project summary report. This might be a formal deliverable to your customer. If it is not, you still want to develop this for future use. And if you are looking into incorporating artificial intelligence, AI, into your project management practice, all of these documents can be important data sources to build the capacity of the tool that you might use for your project management in the future, as you build up the historical data and the knowledge base for an AI tool that you might use in the future to support your project management activities. So that's where consistency will come into play and be very important. You will also want quality across all of these documents. And again, these are 5 important documents that every project manager should not only be familiar with, but should excel at developing. Go ahead and follow PM Quick Tips for more information to come on practical project management tips and information that you can use every day as a project manager.